Good morning, everyone. David Gross with Conde Systems here, and welcome to this webinar. Maybe I can get my little things going here.
Welcome to this edition of Conde Talk. I'm David Gross with Conde Systems. Thanks for being part of this webinar. Please submit your questions. We look forward to answer those questions as time permits. Let Conde Talk be your key to success in growing your business. The topic is shown below. Let's get started.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm honored to have with me Cheryl Kuchek, a good friend of ours, and the person who's running some fantastic Facebook groups to help people be successful. And also with me is Mickey Unsworth, our large format specialist with Conde. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning, David. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. It is an honor.
And Mickey, how are you this morning?
Good morning, David. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and with Cheryl.
Okay, and of course, all our watchers out there of this webinar. So this morning's webinar is a listen-only webinar. We do want your questions, so if you look at your control panel over there on the right, you'll see where you can type a question in, and we will be answering the questions throughout the webinar, and any that we've not answered we'll hold to the very end. The good news at the end here, there are going to be some prizes, so that's some very excitement, plus some interesting specials for us.
For 1600 please. Putting dry ice in water shows a solid transforming directly into a gas, a process called this. Memories of high school chemistry. Sublimation. Let's look at the 2000.
All right, that's one of my favorite Jeopardy little moments there. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I think most of the folks out here have a little bit of an understanding of the sublimation decorating process. But just to be brief, sublimation decorating has come a long way. It was probably first observed in the late 1930s in England. And throughout all these years, as computers came online, as inkjet printers were perfected, we now have a means of producing very high-value, customized products literally in minutes. We have thousands of substrates to choose from, and the sublimation process yields photographic quality. And so it's the, what I would say, it's the complement to the ADD kind of revolution we live in with Google, and that is, I want it now and I want it my way. And the best part is most of the substrates have excellent profits, and so that's what we're talking here. So why consider going large format? Mickey, what would you say to that question?
Well, thank you, David. With the ability to be able to produce a little bit larger substrates, it increases into a signage market like the slide shows, fabric application for the assembled pillowcases, interior designage, also too, just being able to have that wow factor when you can bring into grasp the grand magnitude of a 40 by 60 aluminum panel that is capturing your attention as you walk in, whether it be into a gallery or happens to be into a storefront.
Yeah, I think who was the lady that sold her Chromelex panels there in Berlin? And how much did they sell
Suzanne.
for?
They went for a little over $250,000, and her first name was Suzanne. I cannot remember the artist's last name, but that was very exciting.
Cheryl, what would you say to folks that are considering large format sublimation?
It's possible, because when the limitation to me is in the imagination. So when you think about, for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, I had the the Rico, then the SG 800, and though it was great and it was exciting and it's magical, when you actually are able to do a larger print and you see it come to life, it is, you know, it still to this day has that wow factor every single time I press it, every single time I look at it, I'm wowed. It is truly amazing, and probably the most exciting part to me is after you get over the initial pay of the machine is how inexpensive it is to actually do these. It's really amazing. So
It is.
I
Well,
did,
thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. One quick slide here of why Conde. So in my particular case, I'm an electrical engineer, and in my first life, I developed helped develop the first monochrome laser printers. I did the hardware. And then 25 years ago, I began Conde Systems, and we focused on what at that time was almost an unknown market, that is sublimation decorating. And I fell in love with it then, and our company has grown to be the leader in sublimation decorating. I went around the company and thought about how many years of combined experience, and I don't know what the real number is, but I know it's very large and certainly larger than 300. We've been richly blessed with our ability to help folks be successful. We also now are a manufacturer of substrates, because substrates are, of course, why people do sublimation, like our glass, the acrylic, the Dyflex, things like that. And our marching orders, if you will, is to listen to folks like you and figure out what is appropriate for you and what's going to be your best plan. And if you're not ready for taking the leap, we're going to give you some pointers and give you a plan there. And we love to partner with great people like Cheryl. It provides us an awesome new dimension. And I tell people, well, I don't want to hire people like me. I want to hire people that bring a fresh, new perspective, that look at things from a different point of view. We also have an incredible amount of expertise in color management. And that's probably one of the best known things about Conde, other than, of course, our expert support. Being an engineer, that's what I live for, is to help people. Let's get into the 3 Ps of what I call sublimation success from how they apply to wide format. This morning, we're just going to go over the process and products. And if you're interested in promotion, I teach classes around the country, and you probably can find the Facebook Live video I did in Fort Lauderdale. I think I published that, so it's up there on our Facebook page. Let's talk about the process first, and we're going to walk through the components. The first is the printer, of course, and now there are a handful of printers that we believe are the right thing for people to invest in. The smallest of the printers is this critter here. The mechanism is made by Muto, but it's been customized for the folks at Sawgrass from the ground up to be for sublimation. And the Muto printer uses Epson printhead technology. And this printer today is probably the most flexible printer from a configuration point of view of all the ink sets. In addition, this printer will do a full bleed 24 inches. And that may not seem important at first, but it actually is, because there are a number of substrates that are 24 inches. And you always need to, of course, print a little bit bigger than that. And so what it comes down to is the ink sets. Mickey, can you tell our folks a little bit about the available ink sets?
Yes, sir. Thank you, David. First and foremost, when Sawgrass introduced this device with the power driver, which is their means of supplying color management to this printer, they offered it dual CMYK. They offered also what I call a straight 8 color with light cyan, light magenta, light black, and light black. Well, as the need arose and the versatility was brought forth, implementing Wasatch, which is the RIP software.
We're going to get to Wasatch in a couple of slides.
Okay. With the ability of that, it offered customized ink channels which would allow for them to take advantage, or this device to take advantage of an orange and a blue, or having the fluorescent spot colors with the fluorescent pink and the fluorescent yellow. So of all of the output devices on the market right now, this one by far is the most versatile. And of course it's my job to work with you folks to determine, is this something that is suited for you, that you could possibly take advantage of, and will the machine meet the client's needs? For the most part, yes, unless you're faced with the limitation of it needing greater than 24 inches.
Right. What I would say is that if people are a little confused about which printer to consider, I think the sweet spot for the VJ628 is Chromolux. So if Chromolux is pretty much the only thing on your mind, then I don't know of any printer that's going to produce a finer detail, a better dither pattern, especially in the lights and midtones, than using a state-of-the-art print head with an 8-color ink set. This printer has also been qualified with yet another 8-color ink set that is for sort of, we'll call it a licensed indoor fade durability. So as Chromolux has grown up, it's caught the attention of very famous people like Henry Wilhelm. He literally wrote the book on color durability. And so there is yet another ink set called the XF inks that you can purchase that give you that compliance. So this is the focus printer on Chromolux. Of course, it does everything else, but it really is the ultimate in Chromolux. Let's continue talking a little bit about bigger printers. And so Epson, after all these years, is now in the die sub business. And of course, people have been using their printers for years in the large format market. And so Epson has 3 printers that do it. These are great printers, and I would say that they are worthy competitors. But I would say that the next printer we're about to show you would certainly be a very good printer in the running for a number of reasons. So the Epson printers, of course, are for people that are looking for a we'll call it a closed turnkey kind of printer. And it does a great job with that, and we sell them and recommend them. But our favorite is the Muto RJ900X. Mickey, would you tell us why that's our favorite?
Well, there's a multitude of reasons of why. One, Muto's been around with the iteration of this 900 for going on 10 years now. The machines are very durable. They are very easy to maintain. Parts are available on a multitude of fronts, and that's what I spend a lot of my time consulting with clients and helping them, maintain these machines, keeping them online. I have one. We use them here at Conde Systems for both our fabric garment production, as well as using it for a Chromolux application. The best thing is it's relatively inexpensive, just cost-effective as far as printed ink and paper cost per printed square foot are very, very manageable, and it just is a proven track record in the industry. It's an open architecture.
Yeah, my favorite is, and you're coming to it now, is the open architecture nature. So this printer uses refillable cartridges that aren't burdened by a chip technology. They're just a simple cartridge. You pour ink into it, and therefore it requires less, I guess, maintenance, if you will. In addition, because it's an open architecture, if and when we come out with a next generation ink, there's a very good chance that that ink can be placed in this printer. Unfortunately, with the Epson printers, it's a closed architecture. That's the ink you have today, and most likely that's going to be the ink you have tomorrow. We have a number of inks, for instance, today that are completing their testing and certification, and most likely those inks you'll be seeing those in the near future. So the world of sublimation ink, which we'll get to in a second, is absolutely growing, expanding to address new markets, for instance, outdoor sublimation, a higher density ink for even lower production cost, using less ink to print. So there are just many reasons why we love the Muto. Ultimately, my favorite reason is that it's an easy printer for most users to service. So replacing a print head is something that mere mortals can do. You slide the carriage over, you instantly have access to the print head. Other printers, unfortunately, require an hour to get to the print head. So if you take into account the open architecture, if you take into account the bulk ink feature of this printer, it's only bulk ink. You buy ink in bottles, and then just the sheer quality of the printer, the print quality is excellent. We're doing a tremendous amount with a 4-color printer, and it's been an evolution and extremely good. So if you were to talk to experts out there, maybe that are running farms of printers, this would be the one. Cheryl, what's your take on it?
David, for me, I was a little overwhelmed when I realized how affordable in so many ways this was. The size was big, but I have to tell you it worked beautifully because it's thin, long and thin. And when I bought it, it was easy to put together. Mickey actually sent me the instructions and walked me through the whole thing. It was really very easy to set up and very easy to maintain. And again, I can't help but talk about how inexpensive it is to actually print something. I just did a 40 by 40 blanket the other day, and I think the cost, and I actually have a picture of it later, but I think it was like $1.90 or something like that for the paper and the ink. Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, Mickey, what do you tell people is the cost of ownership?
On this, as far as operational cost, like Cheryl had mentioned, within the RIP, which we'll get to in a second when we'll discuss that, but it has a job cost estimator, so you can plug in the value of what your inks, what your paper costs per square foot, and based on which imaging configuration or color management profile setting you're printing with, whether you're going to a hard substrate or to a soft substrate, you can run the analysis and it will give you that breakdown on the cost for ink and paper for that particular print. And on average, I am running somewhere between 11 and 14 cents per printed square foot for fabric. Then you've also got, for rigid substrates, since we utilize a different paper, higher resolution type paper, it will run somewhere in the neighborhood of anywhere from 23 to maybe 28 cents per printed square foot. But the real cost of ownership comes in this is since these are self-serviceable with a little guidance, because that's what I spend a lot of my time, because we have hundreds of these in the field. I spend a lot of time working with clients, troubleshooting any issues that may come up. But when it comes time, if you need to obtain parts for it, there's a multitude of places of which to get them. Where unfortunate as it is right now on the Epson, which is a wonderful printer in its own right, is that since its architecture is not open and parts are not readily available, it would constitute a service call, which would constitute travel time plus on-site travel expenses, which could get pretty pricey pretty quickly. Now, with that being said, if someone does not feel comfortable in doing a printhead exchange, yes, there is an option if they needed to hire somebody to do it. But most of the time of holding hands and working with people on this. First go rounds usually maybe 15, 20 minutes to change the print head. After that, you can service it within 5 or 10 minutes, which is
and
wonderful.
For folks that don't realize that, what he said is utterly amazing. It's just it's an architecture that lends itself to mass customization, to growing your business. Let's move to inks for a second here, and don't want to spend too much time on this, but the bottom line is that we are very conservative with our inks. And so our flagship ink for many years has been the Sublime ink. It is a wonderful ink, and probably in the Western Hemisphere, it's the #1 selling ink. It has excellent properties, but the best is it's very consistent, has excellent runnability, great color, and we have managed the color profiles for this ink in a variety of platforms, including older Epson printers, Mutos, things like that, for many years, and it's just our old good friend. Over the next few years, I think you'll see a number of inks that are Sublime derivatives for meeting additional markets, better, higher intensity on fabrics with using less ink, outdoor markets. So our world is set to grow rapidly. Mickey, your thoughts on ink?
Well, David, thank you. Yes, there's a multitude of ink manufacturers that are out there, and the #1 issue that I typically run across is that we do want consistency, from batch to batch. And Sublime has been the go-to ink for several years now. In the infancy of sublimation inks, it was kind of touch and go there for a bit, and we had a lot of inconsistencies, which led to a lot of excessive headaches that really didn't need to exist. But the functionality, the runnability of the Sublime ink has been phenomenal, and that's actually been a godsend for me.
Good deal. Any comment, Cheryl?
I love it. I was actually telling Mickey earlier how much I love how when you print this out and you press it, the inks are stunning. The color just pops. It's amazing. Actually, is it different, David, than the Sawgrass ink?
So ultimately, the origin of it was Sawgrass. So Sawgrass had two companies within their one company. One was for desktop, one was for industrial. The industrial group now has been spun off. They still bear the Sawgrass name, and of course are making this ink and of course planning new ink. So they have their origins within Sawgrass, but no, they are not the same. This ink, the Sublime ink, was made from the ground up, I believe in Switzerland, to be the best textile ink in the world, and it certainly is a very good contender for that. So for folks that are quote quote trying to save a penny or something here, I can tell you that often that will cost you dearly, because you can kill a print head, #1. #2 is you probably will be dealing with inconsistencies. So having a good stable ink, and you look at the cost of ownership, it's so low, you're not going to save much money anyway. Let's move to paper real quick. So with the ink, we need to print on paper. That's how what we refer to as hybrid sublimation works. And so again, in the paper world, we're very conservative because of our need to be consistent. So essentially, we provide two papers for the large format world. The first is, we'll call it a soft substrate paper, textiles, those kinds of things, and it's the text print paper by Beaver. And I think it does an excellent job of releasing its ink, which is important, as well as maintaining a good quality print. In the hard substrate world, like Chromolux, we use the Dytrans equivalent of HRSPP paper, and that paper has minimal dot gain, extremely sharp dots with excellent release, so that on substrates like Chromolux, you're going to maximize the quality of that substrate. Where if you used a textile paper, you're going to have a little bit bigger dots than you should. Things are going to look a little more blurry than with a hard substrate paper. Mickey, your thoughts?
Yeah, David, you brought up a good point, but one thing I did want to interject with regards to the Beaver paper. You have the TextPrint HR, which they made primarily for fabrics, but they've also got the tack adhesive version of that as well, which will minimize ghosting for those that are transferring to a fabric-related item. Of course, that would not be used at all when it comes to Chromolux or other rigid type substrates, where David was spot on wanting to make use of the Sublimation print paper, or Conde Dytrans SPP. But I just wanted to make note of that. So people will typically keep, depending on what their substrate or their main focus is of their products, the market that they're after, they'll usually have at least one of each roll on hand, and as their needs change, you know, their so forth will their paper, you know, to best match.
And when in doubt, if you tell us what substrate you're transferring to, we'll tell you what we recommend, how we do it here. For instance, our new Color Light acrylic is now out and shipping, and for that, because of the nature of the coating, the nature of acrylic, we have actually gotten the best results from the non-tack text print paper. So we will tell you what we like, how we want it done. Ultimately, you're welcome to experiment, but we recommend you start off with you know, how we do it. Cheryl, your thoughts?
I love that paper, and that's the paper that I started with. And on acrylic, it's amazing, actually. And also on, I did this metal piece, this aluminum, 24 by 30, I believe. Stunning colors.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I think we've got it coming up. Yeah. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, Mickey, what in the world is RIP software?
Well, David, first and foremost, RIP stands for Raster Image Processor. And to put it in layman's terms, it is the interface, the communication between the PC and the printer, because these printers, these wide format printers, are not always equipped with a printer driver. So the RIP also serves as the printer driver. However, you have the ability not only just to drive the printer, plus to implement much better color controls with your, well, for lack of a better term of what Wasatch calls them, imaging configurations, which are the profiles and some other density information that's supplied. It gives you a lot of print productivity. Like Cheryl had mentioned earlier, we were talking about the cost estimator, where you can run the function of what it costs you for that particular print. The other beautiful thing is that you have the ability to nest different jobs. Let's say you had to do cutting boards, and you needed to do name badges, and you needed to do a couple mug transfers. You could actually bring in each of these files in independently and bring them into the RIP software, and then you can run the nesting feature, and it would strategically place them in such a way that you get the best yield or best efficiency for that medium, just for placement purposes. Now, one thing that I do want to mention on this that a lot of people are not aware of, this RIP is what we support for the Muto printers, as well as what is included with the Epson F-series printers that David had showed earlier. One thing that is critical is this is PC only. So the client must own a PC. If you are a person with a Mac, we can still make it work, but we do need a PC to have on hand so that we can install the RIP on it, and we would send the files from the Mac to the PC for the RIP to process it and then onto the printer.
I would also like to make a comment about this because a lot of people get overwhelmed when they see, oh, there's software and you have to know it. This is a very easy software of all the RIPs, and I've used other RIPs. This is very easy, user-friendly software.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, they have a hard time.
I describe it as moving from a one-desk company to a two-desk. With one desk, you have a person that is at their computer and they're building the graphic and they push print. With the RIP, you've got a second desk, so the first person is building the graphic, but then that graphic is passed to the second desk. That person is looking at maybe a work order of how many do we need this, can I nest it with other jobs to make the most use of my paper, and then push print. And so once you sort of grasp the concept, the value of a RIP is amazing.
Yes.
Let's move to a quick commercial on Conde design. I threw this in because I think a lot of us, including me, struggle with graphics. And so we've started a website with a very large number of libraries of print-ready, professional graphics so that you can look like a pro. And so check out Conde Design. So before the webinar, we were talking with Cheryl, and she said, for folks that are part of my group that are watching the webinar, why don't we come up with something that is special for them? So Cheryl will be announcing that, but we would very much like you to take advantage of the hard work that we put into Conde Design, because what we did is we just put it there so you can make money. Because having great artwork, great chevrons, monograms, patterns, really is the key to value. Let's talk a little bit about really the foundation of ultimately what it needs to do to be successful, and really what it needs is great color. Mickey, tell us a little bit about our efforts to produce great color.
Well, for many years now, this is one thing that definitely sets us apart from some of our competitors and other folks that are in the field. Myself, Tim Lynn, our Vice President, David Gross, and to some extent Andy Taylor, who's in tech support, have taken it upon ourselves to be able to address color issues and to be able to offer appeasing, repeatable, and consistent color with the particular profiles that we have put together over the years. And one thing I wanted to touch on that actually Cheryl and David and I were speaking with before the webinar was with regards to, as it sits right now, the Muto we have full support for, and we have excellent results with it, as Cheryl can attest to. The Epson, the F series, we do not have a Condeized solution for that F series. We rely on either the client to be self-sufficient with doing their own color management with having the spectrophotometer and their output profiling software to do it, or the supplied imaging configuration that is available for download directly from Wasatch, from the RIP manufacturer, which it's in its own right is okay. It lacks a little bit, not to knock the guys at Epson or the guys at Wasatch, but it could be better. And that's one thing I think that our vibrancy on the Chromolux, especially the higher resolution output printing, we stand out among, way far and away better than some of the other folks out there.
So what is good, accurate color? Well, it's basically comes down to first photographs, producing flesh tones extremely well, being able to come close to matching the best photo labs out there. And then it comes to the spot colors and doing a great job with vibrancy, things like that. Now, there's no substitute for a color chart. So whether you're desktop, large format, you still need to print a color chart, sublimate it, then pick your colors from that. So you're never going to have a perfect match with your monitor. It's just not going to happen. And so what we do is we use color charts instead. Cheryl, tell me a little bit about your experience with the large format printers.
It's, again, it's been amazing, David. Honestly, it's one of the best investments that I've made. Certainly has paid for itself over and over. The color
What's been your experience on the color side?
It's stunning. I was actually saying that to Mickey. The color is so vibrant, and my blacks are black. They pop. That's the best I can say is it pops. It's truly
yeah. And black is the black and grayscale is really one of the first judgments we make on that. Of course, you need to do the transfer correctly, and we can help you with that. Let's move to heat presses. Obviously, we need a heat press to do sublimation since we're printing with heat-sensitive ink. And over the years, we've been very particular about our heat presses, namely because of the support in longevity. Putting everything together and having it work for many, many years is key. And our vendor of choice has been the George Knight Company. They're a 100-plus-year-old company in Brockton, Mass., and they're a small company. They produce essentially military-grade heat presses that will last an incredibly long time. And basically, at the very bottom of the spectrum is the DK20S. That's that 16 by 20 press there. That's a swing away. We prefer swing aways or drawer presses because they provide even pressure. And then they go up from there to larger and larger, which we'll talk a tiny bit about. The important thing when deciding a press ultimately is to pick a vendor that's good. And I recommend that you only purchase USA-made presses. The other presses from different countries, they're very much hit and miss. And you also need to plan your installation, the space required, the ventilation, which is a very good idea, and also plan how you're going to get the press in the door. As we get to the bigger presses, sometimes the press will obviously fit in a room, but there's no door to get into, which of course at first is funny, but of course it's not really funny. So the second press in this slide is the DK25S, I believe, and that's a 20 by 24. Is that what it is?
20 by 25. Yes,
20 by 25. And then the next press up from that is the DK32. That's a 26 by 32, and I helped develop that press with Aaron at the George Knight Company to complement the VJ628 with Chromolux applications. So it is a manual press, meaning there's no air compressor, but it has exceptionally heavy pressure so that as you press substrates like medium density fiberboard panels, MDF, we can get the job done. And Cheryl, how do you like your DK32?
I love it. It's a 900-pound gorilla. That's why. It took 4 guys to get it in the door. I mean, it was really pretty scary, actually. But I love it. And I love the drawer that you can pull it out. It's amazing. And it's actually very easy to operate.
It's a great press. Mickey, do you have any comments about the DK32 or even the smaller presses?
Well, it's an excellent press. The DK32, it fits that middle position between a 20 by 25 and then the next step up of going to a 32 by 42. And the reason why I was kind of laughing earlier is because it's always, when it gets to these bigger ones, it's the logistics of physically landing it into your building. I have seen them tear out walls. I have seen them remove glass panels, remove doors from frames, things like this. Now, I will say this particular press on the DK32, it is engineered as such, it will come through a 36-inch wide opening. But that would be about the largest press that would make it through a standard doorway.
Gotcha. Now moving on to the big iron, as we'd call them, are the George Knight Maxis. And we strongly recommend that you buy an air or pneumatic Maxi. They do have manual ones, but the manual ones have very limited use. And the two sizes of the 32 by 42 and the 44 by 64. The 44 by 64 is the favorite because that provides the magic sweet spot for the photographic industry to press a 40 by 60 piece of Chromolux metal. So these presses are amazing. They're easy to operate. They're incredibly reliable. They're heavy duty. So it's what we use here, have for many, many years. This press has kept getting improved every couple of years with improving everything about it. It is an incredibly proven press. Mickey, your thoughts?
David, you pretty much hit it right on the head. Phenomenal design on this, and there have been a few changes over the years as Aaron has seen fit to make it more and more almost bulletproof. Main thing with this is having the room to operate it, having the required electrical, and of course having an air compressor that's hefty enough to drive it. A lot of people end up skimping initially on on the air compressor, and it can lead to some other issues, and it takes a little while for me to try to troubleshoot it until I can figure out that they were trying to run it with a 2-gallon pancake size air compressor and couldn't figure out why it was taking a minute for it to just get up to pressure. And something I wanted to touch on that David had mentioned, yes, these presses are available in a manual. They are less expensive. They're not as heavy, but they were primarily engineered for doing fabric, cut pieces of fabric, or for a cut and sew application where you're not having to be able to generate 75 to 80 psi of downforce, which the manual presses cannot do. Hence the reason why you've got the need for the pneumatic. Plus, if you have a 44 by 64, there are certain times where you can do 2 up. You may be doing either 2 garments simultaneously or 2 medium-sized pieces of Chromolux simultaneously. So it can increase your throughput capability.
Good deal. One interesting bit of operational trivia is this press, instead of pushing down from the top, it actually pushes up from the bottom. So the pneumatic air compressors push the bottom up to the hot platen. By the way, this press can also be purchased in a double-sided press, meaning it has heat on top and bottom, as most of the presses can. For people that are doing double-sided products, it can be a tremendous time saver. Also, it's occasionally used by people that really want to press, quote, quote, from bottom heat because it can reduce alignment time and things like that. So over these many years, our partner, George Knight, has created custom solutions, thousands of custom solutions for clients, and some of those have become normal production solutions. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the projects that Cheryl has been involved with. Cheryl, tell us about these.
Well, of course, we had a question of whether or not, what size heat press. This is a 24 by 30 that I did on my 16 by 20 heat press, and it's exciting. So it cost me $1.79. Honestly, this picture does zero justice of how vibrant and incredible it came out. I wish I could have taken a better picture. The heat press, so I did two presses on it. I did one paper, laid it down, taped it, and then I pressed twice. There is no line, there's nothing uneven. It's amazing, and actually there's several of them that we'll look at. Just want to do
so you can go this way, meaning you print a big piece of paper, you put it on the substrate, you press, you move it, you press again. We're going the other direction. If you've got a small printer and trying to print 2 transfers and press them, that way doesn't work very well. But
Yeah.
going this way allows you to get great results, of course, without having the expense of a large heat press.
Yep, that's right. So all the pictures that I've included, like I did the floor mat, same thing. Those 2 floor mats cost me $1.48. I did them on my 16 by 20 heat press. That's a 24 by 36 floor mat, same thing, cost me 93 cents. I love that. You have no idea. So that's my 40 by 40 that I did, and so it was $1.93 for that and 48 cents. And actually, Mickey, I didn't realize I didn't change my paper, so that cost is probably less than $1.93 because I used the tack one. So
Yes, and there is a difference because of the operation, your cost per square foot of the paper with you've got the tack papers a little bit less because of it being a lighter weight paper as compared to the SPP paper if somebody were using it for the Chromolux.
yes, so that probably cost me like $1.75 or something. So I mean, huge. And then of course I did this one, 26 by 32. Again, 2 presses. The blanket that I did not do on the 16 by 20. I actually did it on the 32, but I still had to do multiple presses, and it came out perfect. So
Awesome.
it's exciting.
That's amazing. Excellent.
Thank you.
Let's shift here and just sort of conclude with going over a few of the great substrates that really lend themselves to the medium to large format. And a very popular one is the full bleed pillowcases. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're worth a lot of money when you do that, and of course the better custom artwork you have, the better value it is. Next, I wanted to cover Reveal. So for folks out there that aren't familiar with Reveal S, a great company, a partner of ours called Vivid Chemical, came up with a film that you run in your desktop or your medium or large format printer, and it allows you to sublimate to white and light color cotton in blends. It is the world's first what we would call single-step self-weeding film paper, in that wherever you don't print, there's no visible emulsion left on the fabric. And so if you've ever used inkjet transfer paper, you certainly know what I mean. So it is amazing, and it even works better on large formats because of the ink technology there. So I know you've done a little bit of Reveal, Cheryl.
And I love it. I think, you know, somebody actually asked today about it being on cork, and I did some cork. I pressed it on some hard surface, and so it not only works on 100% cotton, but it also works on hard surfaces. I mean, to me, it's an awesome paper. Really is.
Next is one of my favorite, really medium large format products, and that is car mats. And if you don't know out there, the #1 buying demographic is young and female, so that's what you want to focus on. And so the ladies love the car mats with monogram chevrons, their name. They're just a awesome winning product. And I know you've done some of the car mats, Cheryl, I believe.
Yes, I did. And I wanted to say this about I'm happy to help anyone with that 2-step process of how to do it on a 16 by 20 heat press, because I think that's important for people to know. With the car mat, it was relatively easy, but something soft or you know, flimsy, you need to have something underneath it. And again, I'm happy to share that. But I did those with 2 presses, and actually I did another one on the 32-inch. Forget it. It's gorgeous.
And again, to reiterate, one of the benefits of medium to large format is that there are relatively few people that have the equipment to produce these products.
Yes.
So you're really in a sweet spot to come up with these products, whether you have an Etsy store, whether you have a storefront, those kinds of things. You're in a very powerful situation with an incredibly low cost of operation, able to do things very quickly, certainly same day. Another product that is, I would say, probably is not very popular because I think people just don't know about it, is custom tabletops. And custom tabletops, you put the tabletop in your press, put the transfer face down and press it. And these tabletops come ready to mount to legs. All you do is press it and then screw the legs onto it, and they come in rectangular or square and round. They are gorgeous tables. They use the Unisub technology, so the coating on the table is very resistant to damage. They'll take a lot of abuse. Vicki, any comments about tabletops?
Yeah, actually, one of my very dear friends and a long-time client, that's the main thing that he produces, the phenolic tabletops, and he's been doing that for many, many, many years. And he has them in many installations throughout the United States. And it's interesting because this is the second time, of course, for the relaunch on this particular product. And, you know, clients like them. They can find the need if they've got the niche market for them. It will fit that bill nicely.
Okay. Chromolux is probably the ultimate hard substrate application today because it's so beautiful. There's so many people that want to put their artwork or photograph. I was eating dinner at a church last Friday night, and the person was asking me what I did, and generally, as you probably can guess, it's a tad bit hard to describe. And so ultimately, he had ordered metal prints for his photography from a good friend of ours that has the equipment called Caligas here in Mobile. And he just, once he knew who I was, he couldn't stop talking about how beautiful the metal was. And so it is absolutely gorgeous. In fact, this next print here shows you an example of what I call vector art spot color. This is what I did for Mardi Gras this year, and for my Mardi Gras organization. These are all Chromolux panels, just absolutely gorgeous. Those purples just are stunningly beautiful. So Chromolux is you know, sort of like they asked Jesse James, you know, why he robbed banks, and he looked at them like that was just the most idiotic question, because he quickly told him because that's where the money's at. And so in the world of value, in the world of sublimation, Chromolux is where the money's at, clearly. Go ahead, Cheryl.
What software did you use to tile that?
So we manually tiled it in Corel. So Todd Till built this graphic, and it was manually tiled in Corel. You've got 8 18 by 36 panels, and then 2 24 by 36 panels. The panels on the right change every year as the folks in our room change.
Wow.
This is also an example of where I believe we also tiled it in Corel, and then of course printed it through the RIP. This is an example of ceiling tiles, and I think this is certainly an untapped market for doctors' offices, for dentist offices, for boutique that are looking really for unique value. And so ceiling tiles are, again, they're easy to do if you've got a larger printer, and of course a larger press is very helpful. I threw in another floor mat. This is one of my favorite floor mat designs that we did. Just the ladies love it. This photograph is a client of ours that I was walking down the street in Charleston, and my brain suddenly said, stop, something has happened, and I really couldn't figure out what for a few minutes. but my unconscious mind, which is always running, spotted this, and this facility, which is actually very large, it's a retail establishment, is 100% Chromolux, and both little and big pieces. And the gentleman here just has the most gorgeous photography, and so it just shows you the tremendous success that the Chromolux has today, and certainly I would bet that that success will only continue and grow larger. Mickey, any comments here?
That was interesting because this particular gentleman, he is running the VJ628, and I had gotten involved with him with the advent of when Wasatch released their color management support for the 628 with the 8 color standard light cyan, light magenta, light black, and light black. And the gentleman that owns this gallery, he and his daughter had gone through all of their files that they had, which had all been sublimated on previous older Epson type models in the past, and revamped them all. And so he is actually a wonderful testament to the value and functionality of the Virtuoso 628 unit. And he's a pretty nice guy. It was interesting because I happened to be on a trip to Sawgrass many years ago with Chris Knight, our purchasing agent, and we happened to just literally stumble upon these guys. And we looked around and go, boy, and sublimation would fit your bill. And the daughter kind of just tilted her head and wasn't too sure, so we just gave her her cards, which ultimately went to her father, and then he's become a long-standing Conde client.
Yeah, truly amazing. So that's one of the main streets that they close once a month, so it's just a great place to visit. I threw in this. This was pulled from our client gallery. It just shows you sort of the smaller formats and how gorgeous they look. This is an example of the larger formats that we did. This is in our company's entrance, so it's gorgeous. This is an example of an LED light box with sublimation fabric on the outside of it, so the light shines from the back side. Really a gorgeous, point of purchase kind of display. And the best part of something like this is it's inexpensive to change the message. Just another pillowcase. Pillowcases are so neat, whether it's college students, high school students, fraternities, sororities, events, Girl Scouts, you name it. Neckties are actually an incredibly interesting business because lots of neckties are sold, and having a custom necktie for instance, I have some good friends that are into hockey. They have all their own custom neckties made for their hockey team. So tremendous. But the #1 application today outside of Chromolux is for all over print shirts, or what some people call full bleed. This has been around for a couple of years. We were the early pioneer in doing this, and with like a Maxi 44x64 and the Muto RJ900X, this is a dream come true. These shirts can be very valuable, sell for a lot of money. It's really going to be intent on the kind of artwork you put on it. This is some vintage artwork from one of our clients, I believe. This is a picture of our new coming out glass. It's called the Color Light glass. You're looking at the image side of the glass at this point in time. And if we change the view, now you're looking at the front side. So this glass breaks the laws of physics as we understood them for sublimation, in that it's viewable from both sides, and the sublimation coating gives the appearance of white. So it is to break the, if you can look at the acrylic that's on the desk there, same coating technology, but look at her white dress. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is an example of one of the throws that you can produce. Look how bright, vivid, how pleasing those colors are. Just knock your socks off. And this is an example of a product that will be coming out very quickly. It's finally been finished. And this is sublimatable flooring. So this is tongue and groove kind of flooring that is from our friends at Universal Wood. So it has their extremely hard, durable coatings, and it would be a perfect application for either the DK32 or either printer, as the flooring comes in two sizes. One size is 24 width, so you need that 24-inch full bleed. So with that, we are finished with our webinar, and we want to give some prizes away. I said surprises, that's what they are. And so Cheryl, would you get ready to close your eyes and use your finger, and let's select a couple of winners that are watching our webinar today. So for our first prize, let's give away a $200 Conde credit.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, the first prize is going to Nancy Love.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Nancy. And our second prize, $100 Conde credit. And who is that, Cheryl?
Becky Fisher.
Okay. And our third prize is $50. Who will that go to?
Okay, well, I'm just looking here. Okay, Connie Nelson.
Okay, congratulations, Connie. All right, and what I want to do is offer a special offer to the folks out there. And one of the things I failed to mention is that since going large format is a fair bit of money, I mean, it depends on how you look at it, but it's certainly an investment. What I recommend people do before buying a large format system is to verify that they're going to make money. And sometimes that's drawing up a business plan, that's looking at how you're going to sell the products, things like that. We can be of service there. But one of the things I think is very helpful is to start selling those products now before you have the equipment, so you will be confident that you're going to make your money. And so to do that, you can take advantage of the Conde Print Services department here. And so I talked to the print services folks before we started the webinar, and they were very generous in providing essentially a hard substrate and a soft substrate product for you to sample. You pick one or the other. And so we've got two Chromolux panels to choose from, 16 by 20 or 20 by 30. And then the floor mats, which are 18 by 24. We will provide you a 20% discount on the purchase of those products. Now what that means is two costs are associated with these, is the print cost and then the substrate cost. So the 20% is off that total, but it doesn't include shipping, so you need to pay for shipping, of course, and it's limited to one per client, expiring at the end of the month. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. The code is Go Big. You will need to go ahead and call the order in after you upload your image. So if you go to Conde.com, you can search for the Print Services tab that allows you to upload your artwork. I would say that the Print Services is an amazing department here at Conde, because they are so good at what they do. We get the toughest jobs for people out there when they need just awesome results. Now let's go through our questions. Jeff, what questions do we have today?
I think we did pretty good on questions as far as answering them during the webinar. It looks like
There's one about do you have leasing options that I think would be.
yes, I replied to that.
We do.
Go ahead, David.
We do offer lease/finance options on your purchases. So we've got a couple of good providers that are easy to work with, that I think provide great programs, great value for you.
And good to note those aren't, one is actually an equipment finance, so you actually own the equipment right out of the gate. So that would be the direct capital option.
Yeah, the direct capital people have been awesome to work with.
Okay, there's another question about how do you print with no line? Talking about when I'm doing a two press, and I either spray it with Conde has a spray. What is that called, David?
Pro spray. So remember, let's make sure we understand the context. So Cheryl is printing a big piece of paper and then pressing it with a smaller press. So that direction works, but the other direction doesn't. In other words, printing with a small printer and then trying to do double pressings with separate transfers. I have not been successful with that when graphics has a background. Where, let's say you had a big scarf or something and you were doing spot transfers on it, weren't trying to make the whole thing blue or something. You absolutely can do multiple transfers on a substrate if you don't have a background.
Yep, yeah. Okay, I don't know if Jeff found any other questions.
I think that's about it, guys.
Well, we want to thank everyone for being with us today. Now, Cheryl can provide you, we've provided, put together some packages that we can talk to you about through Cheryl and Mickey. So please get in touch with them, and we can assess your needs. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is asking good questions to help you understand what you're talking about, and also making sure that the solutions that we're considering are customized for you. So to me, there's no one size fits all. We want to make sure you're a client that's buying the right equipment, that you will be happy for many years, and that we can count on you as a very successful client. With that, this has been David Gross, Cheryl Kuchek, and Mickey Unsworth. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.